This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody. It's time for that mailbag. It's the 3rd of May, Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023. Boy. All right. Well, let's dive into it, guys. We've got a lot to get to with the mailbag tonight. You guys went crazy on the emails, and I'm not going to waste any time. Let's just jump right into it. As always, if you want to get priority placement and get yourself at the front of the show, you can do that by joining Patreon. That's one of the perks. Patreon.com/WWE podcast. All right. So this first one is from Frank, a patron of the show, and he says, I'm new here. With the draft done, what is the WWE going to put? Where are they going to put Big E, Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss, and Bray Wyatt when they return? Well, I would imagine that Big E is going to stick with the New Day, which means Big E is going to Raw, because WWE refuses to actually give Big E a proper singles push. And the last time they did that, it ended up in Big E just every chance they got reuniting with the New Day and regressing 8 steps. So I think Big E goes to Raw. I also think Randy Orton goes to Raw. And the reason I think that is you have Riddle there, and Riddle and Orton have a story left to finish as RK Bro and as opponents. As far as Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss go, SmackDown. I think that they belong on SmackDown. I don't know where the hell Alexa Bliss went. She just vaporizes every year around WrestleMania season and then comes back out of nowhere. Bray Wyatt, I would imagine, also is a nice home on SmackDown. And you could put Bray Wyatt against Roman Reigns at some point as well, and maybe also connect Alexa and Bray. There was that connection, remember? That was never explained. My other question is, with all the belts, do you think they will keep the belts or switch the belts? So I think that right now Roman is going to hold those 2 separate champions. And when you're talking about belts, you're talking about the physical belts. I think Roman's going to keep his 2 belts. I don't know if they're going to unify them into a single belt. They might. I would advise that they do, because it looks like there are more championships than they are. And when there's more of something, it means less. But that's just my personal preference. And my final question is, with the unified tag team titles, do you think it will be up for grabs on both brands? Thank you, everyone. Till next time, Frank. Thanks, Frank. So what I understand is the explanation for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being drafted to Raw, even though they're the undisputed tag team champions, is that they have a home in the event and the likelihood at some point of them dropping the championship. So it means that you can still float between brands as champions, but the second they lose those belts, their home is Raw. That's the way I understand it. All right. Thank you so much, Frank. Let's get to the Grim Reefer. And he says, well, Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan, I'm filling in for them tonight. They have, again, a lot going on, and they'll be back at some point in the near future. So fingers crossed there. So I know I'm not as interesting and fun to listen to as Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan, no doubt about it. So those of you that wrote in, assuming they would be here, surprise, it's just me. All right, so you say, this is usually a predictions mailbox, but I just want to share my delight about the draft and the new heavyweight title. As I've always favored Raw, and it is well known I'm not very fond of Roman, this draft could have not worked out better. Apart from Raw drafting the Pooh Day, and with that bloody trombone, Braun Strowman with his disgusting nipple piercings and Ronda Rousey constantly pulling her shorts out of her backside. It's funny, I've mentioned a few times how blessed Raw is for not having those 3, and they are drafted to Raw. Haha, such is life. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you take the good with the bad, right? I mean, that's just the way it goes. In this instance, having Ronda on Raw, even though she's in a tag team, and eventually her and Shayna are going to capture those tag team titles and then hold them for a significant amount of time. And then eventually, once Shayna and Ronda break up, maybe they have a feud with one another. But ultimately, it's going to get to Ronda and Becky. It has to, right? Right? And I think Ronda, she's on the, I mean, has Ronda been any colder since she came to WWE 5 years ago? No, right? But yeah, I mean, Braun Strowman and New Day, yeah, look, you take the bad with the good. I'll just leave it at that. The only other part I'm not quite sure on is SmackDown's tag division. Looks amazing, but the belts are on Raw. I'm sure they'll sort out something, maybe a heavyweight tag team title. Stay fly, Grim. Well, thank you, Grim. Yeah, the SmackDown tag team division does look, I mean, amazing, of course. And, I mean, some of the teams, just to name a few, are the Street Profits, all right? The Bloodline, the Usos. We have the OC with Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and AJ Styles. They can operate as a tag team. You've got Hit Row with Flop Dollar, Ashanti the Adonis, and B-Fab. We've got the LWO that can have any combination of a tag team there. The Brawling Brutes. We've got Pretty Deadly now with Elton Price and Kit Wilson. So yeah, I mean there's a heck of a tag team division over there on SmackDown that I hope we get some competition with for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Definitely shake things up. But at least it's good to know that we have a home for Sami and Kevin when they lose those belts. All right, let's get to DJ Kuzmo. Mr. DJ Kuzmo, he says, hey, AEW and WWE podcast family, this is DJ Kuzmo back at it again. As I type this email, I don't know if Matt is hosting the mailbag or if the return of the Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan and the Takeover crew is hosting. Well, now you know. And insert sound effect of womp, womp, womp. I know. So other than that, won't be too long. So let's get to the Kuzmo Backlash predictions with no spoilers. Interesting, Roman Reigns will most likely not make an appearance at Backlash. But here we go. Bianca versus Io versus Io for the Raw Women's Championship. I'm booking that Bianca will win, but strangely there hasn't been any build for this match. I almost forgot the match was on the card. And how did Io Sky get a title shot against Bianca? Well, she got a title shot because she won, I think it was a triple threat or a fatal four-way in which Bayley was going to be a part of. And then Io Sky and Dakota Kai complained that she always gets the opportunities and that she should let one of them take her place in that triple threat. And Bayley did. And we had Io Sky end up winning it. So Io Sky, that's how she got the opportunity. I'm hopeful that this is going to be Io Sky losing because of Bayley and Bayley turning on Io Sky. That's my hope. But we'll see. So, yeah, I mean, but to say the least, that this build for the Raw Women's Championship is lackluster. And that's been the case for the Raw Women's Championship for a long time now, even pre-WrestleMania. With Asuka versus Bianca at WrestleMania, most people didn't feel anything for that match at all because they did a very bad job of promoting it. So the Raw Women's Championship and even more specifically Bianca Belair need a shakeup. That's badly. All right. Austin Theory versus Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed in a triple threat for the United States Championship. You're saying that Theory will win and hopefully move on to a new challenger on SmackDown. Yeah, absolutely. This is a no doubt about it type of well, I shouldn't say that. The reason I shouldn't say that is we do have Bobby Lashley on SmackDown, and he's an absolute contender to possibly win, but the idea is to push Theory because Bobby doesn't need the victory here. Austin Theory gained almost nothing from beating John Cena at WrestleMania, which is incomprehensible. It's comprehensible because they booked Theory in a very poor way at WrestleMania and how he beat Cena. I've gone over that. But Austin Theory needs the victory, and they need to kind of hit reset with him. They need to, and I think SmackDown will do him wonders. All right, let's get to the next match. Rhea versus Zelina for the SmackDown Women's Championship. You're saying Rhea will retain and move on to face a new challenger? Absolutely. This is a lock 'em up, throw the key away decision. I agree. Seth versus Omos. I'm booking Seth for the win. It's still very strange that Rollins and Omos did not have an interaction or altercation on the go-home show this past Monday night. Plus, Omos is a, quote, free agent. What does that really mean, to be a free agent in pro wrestling? Anyway, this is just another loss for Omos, who hasn't had a streak of credible wins yet. Plus, this match to me will be a one-off, so that Seth can move on to a challenger for the World Heavyweight title in some sort of tournament. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. I'm not trying to give away my official preview and predictions for tomorrow night, but Hard to argue with you. Hard to argue with you, DJ. No, I mean, but yeah, this is another match that, on paper it sounds fun, but in execution it's been bad in hype, because the hype around Seth is the title. It's not around Omos. Omos is a pit stop. But, all right. Damien versus Bad Bunny. Damien Priest versus Bad Bunny in a San Juan street fight. Now, if you're asking what the difference is between a San Juan street fight and just a regular old street fight, well, it's a San Juan street fight, of course. It's a distinction without a difference. But I'm booking that Bad Bunny wins this match in another Judgment Day loss on a pay-per-view. I will think about that. But, again, there's a significant chance you're correct. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. This is a tough one to decide, because this could be a Brock win to continue the feud with Cody, or this could be a Cody Rhodes statement win for him to move on to challenge for the World Heavyweight title. However, with that being said, I'm booking that Cody Rhodes will win this match. Okay. And I'm only saying okay because I want to not bury the lead and make you guys listen to my show tomorrow night. I'm being selfish. Lastly, but certainly not least, the most likely main event of Backlash that involves KO, Sammy, and Riddle versus the Usos and Solo. I'm booking the babyface win this match to close off Backlash in Puerto Rico. That's it for now. Have an awesome Backlash Sunday. DJ Kuzmo signing off. Thanks, DJ. Great predictions. I will say I agree with a significant number of them. A lot of them for the reasons you mentioned, but tune in tomorrow night, guys. We'll get to your voicemail in just a minute, DJ. Let's talk to Eli. And he says, let me talk to you. Hope all's well. Let me get straight to it. I'm more than tired of Roman Reigns' reign as champion. I feel like as fans I feel like we as fans and even the other WWE superstars are being held hostage until he hits the 1,000-day mark. I really fear he will hold the Universal title until WrestleMania, and for what? Well, I wouldn't fear any longer. Well, number one, even if we didn't have the World Heavyweight title, there's still a lot of tread on the tire of Roman Reigns and stories to tell. As I mentioned, there's still Bray Wyatt floating out there, and there's a big history with them, including the fact that Roman's title reign, day one, began at SummerSlam nearly 3 years ago in a triple threat against Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, beating Bray Wyatt. Okay, let's not forget that. But there is also a lot of unfinished business with Randy Orton from a year ago. There's unfinished business, of course, with Seth Rollins and Jey Uso. That's building up. And eventually Solo, and who the hell knows, maybe even Dwayne comes out of Hollywood for once. So there's a lot. But fear not, because even if that didn't get you excited, there's now a championship on Raw that we can focus on. And we won't have to be so angry about WWE keeping this title hostage. Okay, I understand that he and the Bloodline bring an unreal amount of revenue, but I feel like at the end of the day, or at the end of this run, the company will have suffered. Too many other superstars who have had an opportunity, at least to be Raw or SmackDown champions, have had to wait their turn to a part-time champion. Stars like Montez, Ford, LA Knight, and even Gunther aren't getting any younger, and day by day, bump by bump, their title runs are being pushed further out because WWE wants to churn out a documentary series about Roman. I don't know. I appreciate this platformed event. Yeah, thanks. Okay, Eli. First of all, I appreciate the LA Knight sentiment. It's much appreciated, and you get bonus points for that. But, okay, well, I mean, you admit that they're bringing in an unreal amount of revenue, right? And what is WWE? They are not a charitable organization. They're not a 501c3, okay? They're not a not-for-profit organization. They are a for-profit organization. And for-profit organizations highly value money. So that is a massive determining factor in who sometimes is at the top, who stays at the top. It's not the only factor, but it's a big one. I mean, they're not in this to donate their time. And yeah, that's just a fact of business. But yeah, I mean, the fact that superstars who are especially on Raw for over the last year prior to this World Heavyweight title announcement, I felt for them. And I talked about that many times on the show, that I felt for them. and feeling, I'm sure they felt slighted and pissed off that they didn't get an opportunity to main event WrestleMania because it was all Roman, and they had to pretend for a year that they had a top belt when it really wasn't a top belt. It was the U.S. title was only the top belt because of the absence of the real top belt. So, yeah, I agree though. The Montez, LA Knight, Gunther. Well, Gunther's the IC champion, right? So I wouldn't put Gunther in this bottle yet. And LA Knight's still on the rise. Montez Ford is still in a tag team. So it's not like I don't think they've been restricted, those specific examples, only because, again, LA Knight pretty much new to the scene relatively. Montez still in the tag team and Gunther's IC champion. So I don't know if I would put them in that camp yet. And it's only been a year, right? Like, it's not like they did this for 5 years. A year is significant, but it's not a ton of time in the world of wrestling. But I hear you, though. And I don't think it's all about the documentary series about Roman. I mean, I know I've been pushing the 1,000 days because I can see them doing a documentary, but it's not the only reason. Like, they're not going to just, strip away opportunities from talent on Raw and piss off the fans and take a revenue hit or whatever just so that they can go, well, we can get that documentary out. No, but let's be honest. They're doing a documentary right now with Roman Reigns, having cameras following him around. 1,000 Days is going to be a documentary. No doubt. I mean, they'd be foolish not to. So, all right. Eli, thank you, buddy. Let's see. Let's get to Jackson from Melbourne. And he says, short email today. I just want to say one thing to you. Oh, well, this is from Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, but I'll take it anyway. In my last email, I was never saying Bianca shouldn't be champion. I'm just saying she should be heel. I watched her in NXT with his exact same gimmick, and it's stale right now as a face. In NXT, she was a heel and a very intriguing character. She should be the top champion on one of the brands. She is the single greatest female athlete in the history of WWE, but God, she puts me to sleep as a babyface. Also, I bet you popped huge when you saw your favorite NXT star, Cameron Grimes, get drafted. Bet you're so excited to see your favorite dethrone Roman. Last thing, where is the Good Morning WWE podcast? Missing that. Anyways, guys, enjoy yourself. Talk to you for a night of champions once again. Okay. Yeah, again, Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan, taking a break from the podcast. Nothing, it's nothing nefarious, meaning there's no bad blood between myself and Mr. and Mrs. They are a important part of the show. I have got nothing but admiration and appreciation for everything they've contributed to the show and will contribute to the show. It's nothing like that. It's just that, I mean, they've got life. We've all got lives. I mean, I struggle to get here on a daily basis. It's tough. So it's just a matter of sometimes life takes over. That's all. So they'll be back. But I'm with you on the point you made about Bianca Belair. She shouldn't be a babyface at this point. It's done. It's run its course. I don't need to see her, skipping down to the ring, twirling her hair, anymore. I'm ready for the nasty, vile, just wicked side that I know she's capable of, and I agree she is arguably the greatest female athlete in the history of WWE. I totally agree. All right, thanks, Jackson. Let's get to Cam. And wow. All right. You certainly you maximized your minutes here, Cam. I will I'll get through this as quick as I can, okay? All right, here we go. It's Wednesday, my dudes. Old Vine. I remembered. Yeah. If you guys, by the way, don't know what Vine is, if any of you out there don't know what Vine is, it was an app before TikTok. It was like the TikTok before TikTok. And it's got legendary videos. And I would really recommend it. It's on TikTok. I mean, there's Vine accounts dedicated on TikTok to old Vines or on YouTube. They're just so good. It's so nostalgic at this point from 10 years ago. All right, I'd like to start by saying I'm glad Drew was drafted, which has to mean they have had to come to some agreement. But now it's time to that I bless y'all with a couple of things I thought through over the week. I'll start by saying my shortened reason for the 1K day reign, 1,000 day, and that is it's for the Anoa'i family, not just for Roman. Of course, he's in on a whole nother level, but he is just representing what WWE wants to show for the Anoa'i family. Greatness. I know that Rhodes has done a lot, but for some reason I feel like they have given Dusty his shine and recognition for all he has done in and for WWE, but this is WWE's way to pay homage to Sika, Afa, Rikishi, and most importantly, who I think it's really for, Yoko, which I find it amazing that it would end up being Roman and Manu's dad that would be in a tag team, and as you know, it's the Rikishi boys that are tag teams. I mentioned Dom's song sounding like a cheap knockoff of Sad But True by the good old Metallica boys. You said you don't know the title. I think I can help. Oh, I am American Badass. Okay, yeah. Got it. Of course I know that. Another thing. I'm kind of sick of Usologist Zayn. Ex-Usologist. Got it. So Sami Zayn, you're getting sick of. I don't know if you noticed, but how much of a snake this guy is. He tries mega hard when it comes to being people's friend. And by this, I mean, when he was with the Usos, he'd say, yeet, my dog, Usi, speaking their language. And with Kevin, he was saying anything he could to get that man to like him. And now Riddle is around. Okay, I caught his ass saying bro. I'm not sure. Like, cut your grass. There is a snake in your yard, my dudes. Could just be me, but it happened. Oh, so you're thinking that, from what I understand, Cam, you're thinking that Riddle is a snake in the grass and he's going to turn? Or are you saying a snake in the grass meaning Randy Orton's out there? I'm not sure. We might get Becky versus Ronda one-on-one finally. I agree. And I think it's probably SummerSlam at the earliest. The EST gets her dream Mania match of beating the Last Horsewoman. Kind of funny how Street Profits came out after being drafted to SmackDown almost immediately, and they were wearing blue, like it was known that they were going. I know there was, I know they were there, so why not wear blue? And Texas teams usually are blue, but it's just funny. Anyone who thought the actual IRL couples would be on separate shows just made me laugh. Definitely a time when it sucks to know real information about the wrestlers. By this, I mean, when Becky was drafted to Raw, I instantly knew or threw any Seth versus Roman match away until Rumble. Yeah, that's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. I should have known. That's a very good point. Very good point. And, I made it. I just forgot about it. So thank you, Cam, for reminding me that, we should have known that when Becky was drafted before Seth, when she was drafted to Raw, we should have just gone, oh, that's right, Seth's going Raw. Yeah, I missed it, so thank you. Very curious to see these belt exchanges. Number 6, I can't wait to see how they make all the NXT picks work. Seeing how they drafted the women's tag team champs to Raw, and the women that are competing for the gold on Tuesday got drafted to SmackDown. And with Indy just winning the NXT championship, like, dang, did they even think that through? And lastly, let's see. Anthony, you already touched on this. Anyone who was a free agent after the draft was complete. The only thing I could think about that I didn't hear about was what's their future, as in Biggie, Randy, Bray, just to name a few. Well, I already answered that earlier in the show. All right. So I'm going to stop there only because, out of fairness to the rest of the emailers. So I know that you have the rest, Cam, of asking what's next and talking about the New Day and that kind of stuff. But you give a shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fans. So yeah, they are fine. There's nothing nefarious or bad going on. Just life is taking over. That's all I'll say. So they'll be back. Don't worry. I promise you. So thank you, Cam. I appreciate it. Let's move on here to Chandler. And he says, the draft is officially over, and here's my take. I think Imperium coming to Raw will be nice. I like the NXT call-ups, specifically Grayson Waller and Cameron Grimes. I think it was time for them to come up. And also, could they be the one? Now, I'm putting this in, not Chandler. Could they be the ones to dethrone Roman? For a long time, I've said that ideally, in a perfect world, it would be somebody that could use this to launch their career, not somebody that's already a made man. So just a thought. I'm not saying Grayson Waller or Cameron Grimes are going to beat Roman Reigns, but, hey, if someone catches fire, isn't an NXT call-up that's got a lot of days in front of them in the ring a perfect candidate to beat Roman? Food for thought. Rhea being the first pick on night 2 showed how much of a star she's become. I agree. But here's the thing with the draft picks and the order of the draft picks and how we value who got drafted at what part of the draft. Ultimately, people are going to forget about it. Okay. It's not going to be something that people harp on. What people care about is execution, is building storylines. It could be an indicator of what WWE wants to do with them, but it's not an absolute truth, right? Like, some people get hung up on who gets drafted and what selection. And round 2 was this person, but round 4 was this person. How is that possible? So ultimately I would just say, let the storylines play out. Let's see if something catches fire with somebody. And that's, but I'm with you. Kevin and Sammy going to Raw confused me because they both hold the tag titles. We're not even going to get into that. Well, I addressed this earlier about the conundrum about the undisputed tag team champions being drafted to a show. Okay, I like Seth going to Raw because he's my favorite, and I'm going to Raw in July, so I get to see him. Was anyone really surprised Roman went to SmackDown? Anyway, that's it. Have a good week. No, I'm not surprised Roman went to SmackDown. He's actually made a very nice home on SmackDown. Very nice. I wouldn't have moved him either. He feels like SmackDown. He is the face of SmackDown. He is the absolute foundation. The Bloodline specifically are the foundation of SmackDown, which is why I wouldn't push for a quick split of that group. There's still a lot to be told, a lot of drama to go through, a lot of money to squeeze out of that before you decide to break up that group and disintegrate the foundation of your show. There's a lot to think through. But as far as Seth going to Raw and you're going to Raw in July, well, good. And I'm going to Raw in 3 weeks. So I get to see everybody, and I'll be I'll be very visible on camera. Let me just say that. I'm not front row ringside, but in Albany, New York, I'm going to Raw, and I will be camera side, and there's the floor seats, right? You have ringside, right? But the camera's pointed at me. I'm the first level up off the floor, row A. Okay. So I will be front and center, hopefully, and I'm going to try to maybe market the show a little bit. Maybe you see a sign for my show. Stay tuned. All right. Let's continue on. This is Peter from Melbourne, Australia. Got a lot of Melbourne fans. This is crazy. I mean, I think of like 3 people off the top of my head from Australia, Melbourne, I think specifically. I don't know what it is about Melbourne, but thanks, guys. I really would love to visit there, honestly, someday. I'm quite a new listener to the podcast and find myself already listening to each installment every day. Makes it easy knowing there's new content which will be ready to go when I'm in the car. Well, that's awesome, Peter. First of all, thank you for making me a part, us, not just me, the team, a part of your day. I do appreciate that. Again, it's just insane. You never know who's listening. It's mind-blowing to see who and where and how people listen, or I'm sure some people, as I said, driving to work, at work, on the toilet, like you don't know what people are doing. All right. My question and thoughts relate to the draft, and mostly surrounding my all-time favorite wrestler, Randy Orton. Where do you think he goes? What brand? And where will that lead him? I certainly see him being a part of the World Heavyweight Championship picture, and potentially some relevancy comes NOC. But it kills any Randy Roman plans which may have happened. Quietly also wondering what plans are for Bray. I actually like most to all of his character variations, and dare I say enjoyed the pitch black match. It was something different. Will we ever formally know who Uncle Howdy is? Anyway, keep the brilliant content coming. Thanks, Peter. First of all, I'm not going to disparage you for liking the pitch black match. You are in the minority, but so what? I'm in the minority in a lot of stuff. Okay, I thought the pitch black match was generally like a D. I didn't think it was a total failure, but it was a D match. Quality, length of time, storytelling, botched by Uncle Howdy. Everything has to be a gimmick with Bray. It can't ever just have a regular match. There was glow-in-the-dark confetti. It was just overproduced, right? That's my personal opinion, but if you enjoyed it, hey, awesome. Good for you. As far as ever knowing who Uncle Howdy is, I'm going to say no, but we don't know what... Like, when Bray gets drafted And he's going to come back, and I believe he will go to SmackDown with Alexa Bliss, as I mentioned earlier in the show. I think SmackDown's a good home for him. He fits there, and again, he could have a program with Roman Reigns. But it really is going to depend. Where do they pick up the story with Bray when he comes back? Do they continue with Uncle Howdy? I don't know. I'd imagine that at this point, people don't care who Uncle Howdy is, and maybe that wasn't even the point. The identity of Uncle Howdy, I don't even know if it was the point of the story. It was just, he's just another new guy. The ultimate payoff wasn't going to be the identity of Uncle Howdy revealed. It was, I don't know. I mean, it was X, whatever X is. So I don't know. Again, it's hard for me to tell based on the fact that we don't know where they're going to pick up where they left off when Bray comes back. So it remains to be seen. As far as Roman and Randy plans, look, if Randy gets drafted to Raw, and I think he will, for the aforementioned reasons with Riddle and unfinished business as a tag team there, and maybe they can face Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and they lose, and that's where Randy turns on Riddle, and Randy and Riddle finally have their program. But you know what? Roman and Randy can still happen. How? Trades. You know, I've advocated for this even before the draft was announced, and we had kind of a schmoz of a loose old brand split that broke down. And I think trades are absolutely possible, and they're realistic, and they make sense, and they're exciting, because imagine WWE announcing a week ahead of time, or on Twitter, or whatever, on Raw, or whatever, wherever, that there's been an earth-shattering trade made between brands, and that they'll announce it next week. How awesome of a hook would that be? You know, like, how cool of a hook would that be? And the trade could be Randy Orton to SmackDown for, I don't know, whoever to Raw, Bray, or I don't know, just making something up. But trades happen all the time in actual competitive sports, all the time. So it's logical. It's a logical extension for it to go into the pro wrestling world. So I think that's absolutely possible. Just because someone's drafted to a brand doesn't mean a trade can't happen. Again, barring the nonsense of them just disregarding the brand rules completely, which they have shown every single time they've done a draft that they do, barring that garbage, if they actually adhere to the rules and do a strict split, hard split, and do trades, that's the road I'd go. Thank you, Peter. All right. Let's go to Darren, and he says, "Hey, Matt, it's Darren again. Second time writing in. Thanks for reading my email last time and responding. This time I do have a question for you. I've heard you mention a few times the possibility of a unification title match between Rhea and Bianca. While no doubt it would be a great match, it seems like everyone hates that they unified the WWE and Universal titles as well as the tag titles. So do you think unifying the women's titles would be something they end up regretting, or is the women's division a different story?" Thank you, Darren. Well, Darren, thanks for writing in. So there's pluses and minuses to unification. All the time there are, right? I mean, massive benefit is there's only one, which makes it more valuable. Simple economics. There's less of something, it's worth more. I mean, it's a constant rule among anything and everything in this world. When something's more rare, it's worth more. So that's a massive benefit. Also, the women's division is not as deep as the men's, and therefore, if there are fewer championships, it makes sense that there's only one women's title, given that the women's roster is smaller. Now, if I'm going to argue against myself, it's, well, why would you want to send the message that we recognize the women's division is smaller, therefore going along with that, instead of trying to bolster the women's division, add more women, make them a bigger part of the show, and keeping two belts? So there's my argument against myself. But here's the thing. Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair was teased the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. And it's one that has to happen. It's one that will happen. The question is, will they both be champion by the time this match happens, and will it be for the titles? If the answers to that is all yes, then you have a unification match on your hands, which could go at SummerSlam. I think at SummerSlam, I really don't believe Bianca will be champion much longer. I really don't. She is she's ice cold, flat, amazing athlete, but she just needs a change. That's all. She's an amazing athlete, amazing asset to the roster, but she just needs a shakeup badly. But if you were going to put a gun in my head and say you have to do a unification match today, I would. because the women's division right now is not at a point where 2 titles would benefit the roster, other than having more women be able to claim they have been women's champion, which I actually think is a negative, because the more women can claim they've been champion, the less it means. It's just simple concepts here. I'm not trying to oversimplify this, but those are my thoughts. Thanks, Darren. Okay, only a couple more emails here. Couple more. So we've got Michael from the UK, and he says, "Good evening. I thoroughly enjoy your podcast and listen regularly whilst at work. Funnily enough." See, what is it with you guys? You can't listen to me at home. You're going to get yourself in trouble at work, especially if you listen to the After Dark show on Patreon. Yeah, make sure your headphones are in for that one. "I've been meaning to write you for a while, so here goes. I've been a wrestling fan for around 30 odd years. I'm 36. Oh, okay. So we're in the same ballpark, buddy. I took my 7-year-old boy to his first WWE live event last week in Birmingham, England. He loved it. Anyway, the heat Dominic Mysterio was getting is absolutely brilliant. I'm a fan of the guy, and the crowd here were all over him at the live event, and especially on Raw this past week. I didn't like him when he first came in, but since he's joined the Judgment Day, he has improved greatly. I'd also say the same for Damian Priest, who I also dislike, but he's come on heaps. Rhea is class, and the Judgment Day has really propelled their careers. But great if they could add some more titles to their faction, even though they're doing fine without championship belts. I'm not sure Finn Balor fits in. He seems like the odd one out. They were all there at the live event apart from Rhea." First of all, that's awesome. You brought your little guy to a live event and indoctrinating his mind into the world of pro wrestling. I have a little one as well, a little bit younger, and my goal is to get him into the pro wrestling cult as well. So I'll be initiating him in probably a couple of years as well. So I'll be joining you. But yeah, I mean, I agree. The Judgment Day has been really just a surprising. It's been a surprise to me, especially given that they ousted Edge, and I said this has been the worst decision ever, and I still believe there were negatives to that. But ultimately, it turned out better than I could have imagined, bolstering every person's career in a big way. And sure, Finn feels a little bit like the odd man out, but what else are you going to do with him right now? He fits okay in the group. And Damian Priest is finally getting spotlight. Rhea is obviously the star, and I would argue she's a babyface in a heel group. The crowd's ready to cheer Rhea, because she feels like an initiator of change, doesn't she? She feels like it's different for the women's division. So I think the fans are ready to cheer Rhea. They really are. And of course, Dominic on the other side is an absolute heat magnet. No doubt about it. But adding more titles to their faction, sure, that would help. I don't think it's a necessity, like you said. They're doing fine. But it doesn't hurt whenever a heel faction has titles. At the same time, we just saw that with the Bloodline for, 500, 600 days combined that was how long the Usos held the title. Of course, Roman's held it for nearly 1,000, but okay. I'm glad the Judgment Day got away from Edge, though. Edge is overrated. It's always been Christian for me. Christian is class. Yeah, I would love to see Christian back. I agree. Moving on. I don't think Brock Lesnar needs an explanation for attacking Cody. He could simply say, I attack Cody because I can, and I don't need to explain anything to you morons. Well, you know what? Actually, Michael, that is an explanation. And I would accept that. But the fact is, they couldn't even be bothered to do that. And I would actually be okay with that, because at least it would be consistent with Brock's character of doing whatever the hell he wants for anytime he wants. But also, it is an explanation. Brock's saying, I don't have to tell you because I'm Brock Lesnar. Okay. So, yeah, but they couldn't even be bothered to do that. That's the worst part. But that would have got him a negative reaction. After all, he is meant to be an uncontrollable beast. Cody Rhodes is great, to be honest. He gets a very positive response, and that's all that matters. His theme music, he's great in the ring, and his promos are very good. Cody was at a live event, and he finished the night. Yeah, look, I can't disagree with Cody and how successful he's been. It has been a big surprise to me that the crowd has connected with him this quickly for this long, and that there hasn't been any waning in the crowd response. It's been generally very positive, and I still don't love his babyface character. I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. It's too goody two shoes for me at times. And I think he uses big words to use big words. And I feel like he's putting on an act like he's more sophisticated than he is. But anyway, I don't want to get into it. Ultimately, at the core, I do agree with you. He is a big star right now. He feels like a big star. He plays the part well. He's amazing in the ring. His promos have been more often than not very good. So, I mean, I don't have much to argue against Cody. I really don't. At the WWE Live event, do you know who got the worst reaction other than Baron Corbin, whose theme music sucks? Bobby Lashley. Wow, that guy is so bland. Excuse me, yeah. Lashley is a conundrum because he is if you could create a pro wrestler and what they look like, especially in Vince McMahon's mind, Bobby Lashley would come out of that mold. I mean, he is exactly what you would want a pro wrestler to look like. Exact. But the problem is, WWE and anywhere else that Bobby's been in other promotions have never been able to figure out the key or the code to unlock Bobby's personality. Bobby has a personality. I saw it on Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold. He's just, I think the problem with him, he's too laid back as a person. He comes across as too chill in real life. And if that's who he really is, then on TV, he's just putting on an act. And what that act is, I agree, is bland. And having him not be really good at promos hurts. And when he tries, it's like you can tell he's trying to create emotion that's not real. And I mean, Bobby Lashley is a beast. Excuse me. And he is an absolute machine. I have nothing but respect for the guy. But let's be honest, his character is not exactly it's not a very good character to connect with the audience. And time has shown that. I agree. Yeah, it is kind of bland. His character anyway. In the ring, he's very good. I got to see my favorite though, Austin Theory. That guy is a future WWE champ. His promos are decent. He's great in the ring. I don't think beating Cena with a low blow really matters. Gutted there was no LA Knight. Yeah, I feel bad for you. I'll leave it there for now. I'll write it again. Thanks. King Scully. Okay, King Scully. I didn't know that's how you wanted to be referred to, but King Scully from the UK. Thanks for writing in. Yeah, I feel you about the let me talk to you. I feel for you. But you're saying it doesn't matter, right? Like you're thinking that him beating Cena with a low blow doesn't really matter, but it was WrestleMania. It was supposed to be one of the crowning moments for Austin Theory. Beating John Cena, one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. And having him do it in a way that discredits his character. I mean, you don't hear him talking about it too much, do you? I mean, when he mentions it, as fans, you may boo it, but you're thinking, yeah, but you beat him with a low blow. That's, I know that's a heel thing to do, but you don't do those big heel things like in moments like that are supposed to get you to be established as a credible badass. There not always needs to be a cheating end to your match as a heel. Like you can beat somebody clean, and maybe that makes the crowd more angry. You don't always have to cheat to win. And there's no argument to me that would make sense that, well, you don't want to hurt John Cena. Oh, come on. Hurting John Cena. Nonsense, right? But I would respectfully disagree with that. I think that the method in which he beat John Cena did tarnish his victory over John Cena. But anyway, get back to work. Okay. All right, let's get to our final email.
Hey, yo, it's me.
It's Rocky T.
Hey, how about that? I love that. Good stuff, Rocky T. Good stuff. I really enjoyed that. All right, so he's checking in once again. And he says, January 1st till the day of the Rumble was the longest 4 weeks I've ever experienced in my life because I was so excited to go to my first Rumble. Since then, the time has flown by. Chamber, Mania, and the Draft are all in the rearview mirror, and Monday night, or rather the Monday after Backlash, the new rosters take full effect. Overall, I'm very happy with the draft picks. I'm excited to see how the NXT call-ups perform on the main rosters. Over 15 NXT call-ups will now be on either Raw or SmackDown, and that means new feuds and challengers to the current champions. On SmackDown, I'm looking forward to Roman battling with Bobby and the phenomenal AJ Styles. I'm also looking for literally any woman to take the title off Bianca Belair and for her to turn heel, and then I'll be happy in regards to that. Agree. Okay, so you have a little bit more, but let me comment on this. I'm glad you pointed out the 15 NXT call-ups. I'll take that at face value. I didn't count, but I'll take you at face value. That's awesome. It's not good for NXT, not good for Shawn Michaels, who need to continue to build new stars, but that's the purpose of NXT. That's the point of NXT. It's an in-house farm system, and it's been proven brilliant so far. Okay? But that also is very encouraging for those that want new matchups, new stars. That the lifeblood of this business is new stars. I know that some people don't want, sometimes fans, especially those that are kind of casual, not the casual wrestling fan, but just the collective casual fan that pops in every now and then. If they don't see a star they immediately recognize and has household name value, they turn it off. Or they go, it's not like it used to be, right? Who's this? I don't want to watch this, right? And some fans don't have the patience. And those fans come and go, and maybe they'll pop in for Survivor Series or Rumble or SummerSlam or Mania. But those are the fans that are fickle, are still of the belief that it should be, Stone Cold and The Rock main eventing every WrestleMania, and Triple H and Kane and Big Show. Like they are frozen in time from 1997 to 2005, right? And the rest of us, like those of us that listen to wrestling podcasts, are smart enough to know that this business is built on stars and building new stars. And the patience that we have as fans is key to helping WWE build those stars. And so I'm also excited. Long story short, I'm also very excited for those NXT call-ups. Very. It's time for new blood and new matchups. So as far as, Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles battling Roman, yes, I agree. And turning Bianca heel, I mean, can I get a hell yeah? Okay, on the Raw side of things, I'm looking for Rhea to dominate every challenger in her path. I can't wait for the mommy action figure to be available with the title belt, or a combo pack with Rhea and Dominic to add to the Rocky T household collection. When you get that, dude, you have to send me a picture. I need to see this. Please. If they're going to make it, how can they not? I would also agree, though, that Rhea should dominate everyone until maybe her and Ronda Rousey clash. Her and Ronda are on the same brand. It's possible. So Becky Lynch is also on the same brand now as Bianca, or rather Rhea. And then Rhea's going to be the Raw Women's Champion, right? They're going to swap belts. Her and Rhea are going to swap belts. They'll have a ceremony. And won't be as eventful, I'd imagine, as Becky and Charlotte's was last year or the year before, where there was actually real drama going on between them. But I think that Rhea is going to be dominant. I don't expect Rhea to drop the belt. I mean, the earliest would be Rumble or WrestleMania. I could even see Rhea Ripley going through WrestleMania 40 as women's champion. She has a lengthy run ahead of her, as she should. Okay, lastly, my question this week is, if Dusty Rhodes won the NWA title, which became the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, which is simply known as the World Heavyweight title in WWE, and if Cody wins the new World Heavyweight title, will that count as him finishing the story of his winning the title his father never did? In logical world, yes. In the world of reality, yes. But in pro wrestling world, no. And here's why. Because WWE has positioned Cody in a way that he needs to overcome Roman Reigns to finish the story. They could switch the narrative and have Cody maybe come out next Monday night, and as the tournament, again, this mythical tournament that hasn't been announced yet, that I would imagine they're doing, he comes out and cuts a promo about how he wasn't able to defeat Roman, but there's always more than one way to finish a story. And he could switch the narrative to, sure, you know what? I can finish the story by winning this championship. And maybe explaining, just as you did, Rocky, those connections. It could be. I mean, they really could go either way. As it stands right now, Cody can only finish the story by beating Roman, unless they have Cody come out next Monday night after Backlash, as everything switches laser focus to the World Heavyweight Championship tournament. I think you could easily have the narrative switch to, he can finish the story by winning the World Heavyweight Championship. And here's how. Sure, they could do that. We'll find out next Monday night. I really do believe that, because who else could possibly win this beyond Cody and Seth? I mean, we already know the final of this, again, unannounced tournament. It'd be hilarious if they don't end up doing a tournament. I don't know what else they would do to determine, but I don't know. Anyway, how can it not come down to Seth versus Cody? It has to, right? And honestly, at that point, it's a toss-up as to who wins. Either could. But thanks, Rocky. Hope all is well with you. And that concludes the email portion of the show, guys. So now that the email portion is done, we'll get to that all-important voicemail portion in just a second. Before we get there, guys, I want to remind you, we have a new merch store. Okay, if you want to hit us up in the merch store, you get yourself a mug, a t-shirt, a hat, an iPhone case, a bunch of other stuff with our logo on it. You can do that. There's also a special Lunchables t-shirt for those of you who remember that the Lunchables, the fire, trash, and Lunchables segments that were done by Kanye Twitty. That is available also on the merch store. Where is that merch store? There's a link on our website. It says merch store now open. There's a button right there, right on the main page. Or you can go to WWEpodcastshop.com. WWEpodcastshop.com. How did I get that that domain? It was divine intervention. That's how. I have no idea. I don't even know how WWE Podcast was never taken. I'll never know that. But anyway, wanted to let you know that. And also, if you want to go VIP, that's available on the website for $3 a month. You get everything ad-free. Patreon offers that as well as Apple Podcasts. There's an ad-free button. Okay, let's get to those voicemails in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show, record through live on a Wednesday morning. And before we get to a very special episode of the Veer Mahan Report, before we get there, I gotta say, Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan, we miss you guys. We miss you. We haven't heard from you what seems like since before WrestleMania. I hope everything is doing well with you, because of course this mailbag is the mailbag before PLE, before WWE Backlash this coming Saturday. So hopefully we can hear from you tonight. But if not, we do miss you on the Good Morning WWE, the Good Morning WWE. So hopefully, Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan, we can hear from you once again. But now, let's get to your favorite show to come on every single week on the Mailbag. And I'm talking about the Veer Mahan Report. Now, the Veer Mahan Report did not take place last night on NXT because oh my goodness, the breaking news that came late Monday night after when Monday Night Raw was over, that my guys, the initiator of Veer Mahan, Sangha, and the modern day Maharaja are getting drafted to Monday Night Raw. Oh my gosh, this is so freaking awesome. This is so freaking awesome because I've been waiting for weeks. It felt like 3 months that I haven't seen on NXT. Yes, they were away for a couple for the time off, but now that I heard the news, they got drafted. Oh my gosh! Yes! Now we get to see them go up against some real tag teams, going up against KO and Sammy. Hopefully for the I guess the Raw Tag Team Champions or the Unified Tag Team Championships, whatever that is. But I want to see them go up against Braun Strowman and damn that flying flippity flop dude, Ricochet, because I can't stand that tag team. I can't stand Braun Strowman. So hopefully they in this year can make some noise and whoop some ass and put Braun Strowman, especially Braun Strowman, in his place, because they in this year are here on Monday Night Raw. So I gotta say, I gotta give a shout out to Matt. Thank you, Matt, for pointing that out to me for the past couple of weeks that we haven't seen them. Is because they're probably going to getting ready to get drafted. So, Matt, I got to give you a lot of props for that. Of course, I got to give a shout out to NXT and, of course, to the Creed brothers and everybody that was part of the development of this group of the initiator of my guy, Veer Mahan, Saga, and the modern day Maharaja, Jinder Mahal, now on Monday Night Raw. Oh my goodness, this doesn't feel so real. This doesn't feel real. I need somebody to pinch me right now. Oh my goodness. Anyway, before my time goes up, I can't even contain myself. I hope you'll have a blessed week, an awesome week. Be kind to one another. This is your boy DJ Kuzmo, and peace.
DJ, I love your enthusiasm. You may be the single most excited person on the planet for this move, and only simply because they haven't got much exposure. And I think we will learn in short order that they're a good tag team, well-oiled, and are new faces, and they are heel, which is a good thing if you were trying to have like you said, a matchup with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Will that happen immediately? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it happens sometime over the summer, but it's going to happen. No doubt about it. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I also have to ask, were you on the beach? or seaside? I heard seagulls. I'm jealous. Right? Here in upstate New York, obviously we don't have any of those. Right? We have got crows and hawks, but we don't have the very pleasant sound of seagulls. So wherever you were, I'm jealous. That said, look, I wasn't I'm not trying to be arrogant about my pick. I'm wrong more than I'm right here. But when you were telling us week after week that they weren't here, they're not here, they've been silent on Twitter, and they're not on NXT. I was hopeful that there was a possibility they were going to be just simply being drafted to Raw, that they weren't going to be involved in any storylines. There's no point in it because they were going to be drafted in 3-4 weeks. And that ended up being the case. And I'm glad it is. I'm glad that you're excited. And I think the fans will be as well, once they establish their personalities to the casual fan that has no idea who they are outside of Jinder Mahal, who most people I think would imagine. I'd imagine most people at least kind of heard the name or seen him before. But for Sangha, right, and Veer Mahan himself, no, like they probably have no idea. Most fans, I'd say 3 out of 4 probably have no idea who they are. So they're going to need time to establish themselves, and Jinder Mahal, I think, will do a good job of helping with that, as he's the biggest star in the group. So I'm excited for you. So, alrighty, DJ, thanks, buddy, and we'll talk next week. Voicemail number 2 on the way.
My name is Kyle from Baltimore, so I wanted to talk about the draft as a whole and where we are now. I think it's looking honestly even, but looks great now with star power on both shows are kind of strong. I think SmackDown has the slight edge, but Raw's no joke over the people that they drafted as well over on Raw. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the majority of the NXT picks with the men and women on both shows to see how they fare out on the main roster, and this is going to be exciting. This is pretty much looking at the draft now and the rosters now. It's kind of like reminding me of NXT, of how there's a lot of NXT people for the most part are on the main roster, and so that'll be fun to see pay-per-views moving forward, like watching NXT TakeOver in a lot of ways. So that's exciting to see. The story should be fun, and on the whole, both shows are very strong, and I'm looking forward to the summer with these new rosters. But what do you think about them? The rosters are on SmackDown, but that's it. Thanks for my call. Bye.
Yeah, Kyle, I'm glad you asked about the overall feeling. I feel like I've dove into the weeds without giving an overall thought about how I feel about both rosters. I would agree. I think SmackDown has the slightest of edges. Right? I mean, you have the Universal Champion, the biggest star in the industry right now. You have the Bloodline, the biggest group in the industry. Okay? But Raw's no slouch. And you also have these free agents roaming around. Brock Lesnar, biggest star that's a free agent. John Cena at some point eventually will return, I'd imagine, this year for a match or two. And, the other free agents that with Dolph Ziggler and Von Wagner and Ali that are going to kind of fill roles as they need to on whatever show. There's a whole other slew of free agent wrestlers as well. I got to look up who they are. They're not exactly, household names, but overall, I feel like it is a well-balanced roster. And that's without Bray Wyatt or Randy Orton even being drafted yet. I mean, so we are in good shape, along with the 15 new call-ups from NXT. This is truly, to me, in some ways, the start of the Triple H era. I know it started 8 months ago, 9 months ago, whatever, with the fall of Vince McMahon, and then Vince comes back and he's still kind of involved. But you know what? Assuming that Triple H is truly the one in charge now creatively, this is truly Triple H's roster now. He positioned the people the way he wanted to, with call-ups he wanted, and now we can say clean slate. This is Triple H's now his baby. There's no more, Vince had this and he has to clean up that. That's done. Things reset next Monday. So I'm with you, Kyle. Well balanced and new rivalries on the way. So I'm excited. Alrighty, let's get to the next one.
It's the French guy here. Your courage. European champion. Wanted to address your After Dark show, which was really, really nice. I really enjoyed the subject. And without diving into it, you just addressed one of the philosophy, one of the thought about a philosopher, a French one. Maybe you knew it when you were talking about the end of the podcast. It was about, it's Blaise Pascal. Pascal. It's a French philosopher which addressed exactly what thoughts you were into at the end of the podcast. So this was, I don't know if you wanted or if you knew it, but if you didn't, it was exactly the same train of thoughts that was addressed by this philosopher. With that out of the way, I just wanted to address this week that a lot of time in the podcast, wrestling related, of course, you said that MJF in the WWE, you can't wait. But let me tell you, is that a good idea? I am not sure. MJF was in WWE before as a security guy. Why is that? Why wasn't it in development? Why didn't he have a chance before? Why did he break through in AEW but not in WWE before? Of course he's young, but there's a reason about that. I am not sure that MJF in WWE is such a good idea. Why is that? It's scripted. Creative will have too much control over his character. He will not be able to express himself as much as possible. I'm not talking about insults or something like this. Even like the tone that he's taking may be restricted by creative. So I'm not convinced that MJF in WWE as is right now is a good idea, even in the future. I think that it's maybe not that great having MJF in WWE. That's it. Let me know what you think about that, man. And yeah, I'll see you next week, guys. See you next week.
Alex, I'm glad you enjoyed After Dark, and the topic, if those are wondering, that I discussed was is time an illusion, and are we living in a simulation? Interesting subjects of which really can boggle the human mind. So I'd really invite you, if you want to hear those After Dark shows that are often R-rated, make sure you're on the SmackDown tier or higher on Patreon. So, Alex, I get it. Yeah, MJF was he was a afterthought in WWE. He wasn't even a thought in WWE, much less an afterthought, I should say. Yeah, he was playing security, but I mean that was an eternity ago, before he was a proven commodity. I mean, he wasn't and didn't burst onto the scene until AEW came along. And now that he has proven himself to be one of the best, if not the best talkers in the entire wrestling industry across any promotion, I would argue, any promotion, maybe any era, I would argue in some ways he's better than John Cena on the mic. Now, John Cena is one of the greatest of all time, but there's something about MJF, the way he talks. He doesn't stumble. He's very, very focused on what he's saying, the word choice. I mean, he's just so good. Now, I understand your concern, right? Like, creative in the past has, under the Vince McMahon regime, been presumed to have scripted almost everyone. Everything felt very contrived, and that people didn't have ability to kind of go off script and have their own creative freedom on the microphone. But here's the thing. It's a new day. Yes, it is. Okay? It is the Triple H regime now. Vince may still have some say, but ultimately Triple H has the ultimate say. And that means that there is more creative freedom. We've already seen it on the mic. We've seen the wrestling, the product change from predictable all the time to not predictable all the time, but some of the time, right? Brought back new stars. Some of the production things he's done differently. And some of the creative freedom that you're seeing on the microphone is something I mean, if they brought in MJF and they didn't allow him to have creative freedom on the microphone, then what are you even bringing him in for? To just muzzle him? Makes no sense. And MJF's a smart guy. He's a business guy. He says that first and foremost, he's a business guy. Why would he want to come into a place in which he can't use his greatest asset to the maximum potential? It makes no sense. In the ring, he's still really good. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves in AEW because he's so much better on the microphone. He's so good on the microphone that even if he's really good in the ring, he gets overshadowed by how good he is on the mic. And that said, though, the only thing he may get strangle-held by in WWE where he doesn't in AEW is the TV rating. And that's something that even if he gets creative freedom on the mic and Triple H says, you know what, I have no script for you. I will never have a script for you. Here's just where we want to go. Get us there. And the rest is up to you. The problem is when you're under a PG umbrella, it's a little bit more narrow than under a TV-14 umbrella. So some of the things that MJF has said in the past to his opponents, he would be a bit more restricted in the PG regime. So that is the only drawback I could see from him coming to WWE. But imagine the opponents, right? If WWE ever goes back to TV-14 or they can find some creative way around TV PG for his promos, and I think they could, then bring him in. I think there is a lot of money to be made with MJF in WWE. A lot. We've already seen a big star transfer from AEW to WWE, and it has been massively successful in Cody Rhodes. So it's not unprecedented. The path has been paved. We've already seen it. And MJF is now a proven commodity. He's a proven. And we've already seen him work with some of the top talent in AEW. Bring him into the WWE. Bring him into the big leagues. And have him work with, my God, Roman Reigns. Have him work with Cody Rhodes. I mean, there's so many guys. It's mind-blowing. Now, at the end of the day, do I think WWE will sign him? I don't. And the only reason is I think AEW needs him more than WWE needs him. WWE doesn't need him. AEW needs him. Therefore, they are willing to go deeper into the pockets than WWE will. So ultimately, I think he'll probably stay with AEW simply based on the number of zeros on the paycheck. So, Alex, thanks, buddy. Let's get to our next one.
Hey, Matt. It's Brad in Florida. I said Brad in New York on your Google Voice, whatever, but Brad in Florida. I've never been happier about a draft call-up than I am about Grayson Waller. I am so excited about this guy. I'm really just thrilled that he's going to be on the main roster. I think he is so charismatic and funny and interesting. He just has really the whole package. And for people that say he's like a Miz 2.0, I couldn't disagree more. I mean, he's very interesting, and he's got definitely a sense of humor, and he hosts a show, and, it's called the Grayson Waller Effect, whatever. But other than that, I think the Miz is, and I like the Miz, but I think he is such a better athlete than the Miz. He has such better sort of ring skills than the Miz has. And it's not to take away anything from the Miz, because I think the Miz, again, is fantastic, but I think Waller is, in and of himself, just a totally different animal when you watch him. I think SmackDown extremely interesting with this edition of Waller, but the one thing I'll say about SmackDown is that they're very heel heavy right now. Very. I mean, I can't even imagine who Theory is going to feud with on this new incarnation of the SmackDown roster unless it's, maybe a face turn for LA Knight, which I could see. By the way, LA Knight is just as good as a face as he is a heel. It's pretty much the same act, except it's just flipped around. Nothing really changes. That's kind of just all I wanted to say. I know I'm running out of time, but I am excited about the new rosters. I'm excited about the draft, and thanks for taking my call, man. Bye.
All right, Brad in Florida. Hope you're doing well. So, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you look at the roster for SmackDown, it is very heel heavy, and outside of a face turn, if no one turned, I think he probably continues his program with Lashley for a little while, even though that's kind of getting a little bit stale, right? Lashley and Bronson Reed and Austin Theory are having a triple threat for the U.S. title. And maybe with Lashley and Austin Theory on the same brand, they continue that for another month or something. But I agree. Grayson Waller, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend all of a sudden I'm a Grayson Waller expert. You are much more versed in his body of work, as others are, than I am on this show. This is why I have Memphis Mark cover NXT, because I just have zero time to watch it and dedicate to it. But from everything I'm hearing about Grayson Waller, and I've seen a few of his matches, I've seen a little bit of his work. From what I captured, I am intrigued. And what I hear from everybody is that he could be the one to actually take down Roman Reigns. I've heard that. He could be. And he's a hell of a candidate to do that because, as I said earlier in the show, he checks all the boxes you'd want for someone to take that from Roman. Young, able to build on it. You don't need an established star like The Rock or even Seth Rollins to some degree, although Seth is a stronger case, but somebody that doesn't need it. Like, for example, when Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 to beat the streak, end the streak. That wasn't needed. I still strongly disagree with that. You don't give that to somebody that's already an established star, much less somebody that's a part-time star that's already beyond a made man. It makes no sense. But that said, so that's my thought about Austin Theory and your analogy. And I've heard others make that analogy of The Miz and Grayson Waller. And I mean, I see a little bit of it, but I also have heard, MJF is, a knockoff of The Miz. It's like, no, not even close. The Miz would be destroyed, on the microphone. MJF would kill The Miz. Outside of just some of their scarves looking the same and a little bit of their outfits, there are some similarities in their outfits, right? In some of their attire, big deal. And they're both young. Okay. Right. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that. I think Grayson Waller will be able to differentiate himself very quickly from The Miz. So, all right. Thanks so much, buddy. Let's get to our final one. Here we go.
Hey, Matt and the WWE Podcast family. It's New York Kyle again. I'm at work again. So if you hear cars in the background, I actually work at I've been cleaning a store outside, and inside, parking lots, in the parking lot, and then also inside and stuff. I'm outside in the parking lot right now, so if you hear cars, that's why. Anyway, so Matt, I heard you say on the not the Raw review, it was either current state or the first night one draft episode. I don't remember which podcast episode it was. You said, that you're like, where's AJ Styles been? I didn't know he had a job here still. I haven't listened to your Raw review yet. I'm actually about to at work, in a couple minutes. But I saw reports a long time ago. It's like the last time he was on TV, I think back November, December time. He's been injured. I'm not trying to be a know-it-all or anything. I knew if you didn't. So I'm not trying to be like that. I'm just informing you. That's all. I saw a report a while ago that he's been injured. So that's the reason why he's been off TV. And basically, since he wasn't here, and like you said, pretty much everything got for his lackeys. Without AJ here, the OC got no creative plans for them. The creative has no plans for them. That's most likely the reason why he hasn't been here. Second thing I want to say, one more thing before I go. I'm sure DJ Kuzmo is very happy right now and is probably snacking at some Lunchables to celebrate. And Douchier, they're finally called up. Veer Mahan is Veer Mahan is not coming to Raw again for months and months and months, and he's not on meme again. They're actually on the main roster right away. And Douchier and Jinder Mahal are back. Well, Sanga's first time, Veer and Jinder are back, so that's cool. Anyway, 3 minutes are about to be up, so cool for Douchier. Talk to you guys next time.
You know it all. No. See, this is why I have you guys. You guys remind me of things that I miss, or I forgot rather, and tell me things I missed. And I had forgotten about AJ Styles actually being injured. I vaguely remember that being a report coming out from, my God, it was 6 months ago, right? So, it's kind of a fair assessment of my defense that if, you'd forgotten or missed it, that you'd be like, oh, that's right. My God, he still works here. So that happens from time to time. Somebody just disappears from TV and either a report gets buried by the next news cycle or it's very low profile in the news cycle of wrestling. And you're just like, what the hell happened to this person? Right. So, but thank you for that because I didn't know. And honestly, the OC without AJ Styles, they are, their level of relevancy goes off a cliff. It just does. Whatever AJ Styles is doing is what the OC is doing. That's it. That's all there is to it. So, get back to work. I don't know what you're doing, right? I don't get you in trouble. I get you guys in trouble at work. A lot of people, for some reason, use me as their work audio, which I'm grateful, but I'm also concerned. So, thanks so much, Kyle. Thank you to everybody. Much appreciated this week. busy week with the draft and lots of comments from you guys. If you want to participate in this, you can email us at mailbag@wwepodcast.com, or you can go to our go to the phone number that's in the description notes of the show. If you want to leave a voicemail with all the voicemails you heard, you can also do that. Consider going to our merch store. It's at wwepodcastshop.com, or there's a link right on our website, wwepodcast.com. Go VIP there as well, or go to Patreon or Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. You guys know the drill. I really appreciate all the support, guys, as we just get this podcast underway. And we're actually on our way. In about a month or so, we'll be crossing 2 million downloads in total since this podcast has been in existence. So a significant milestone, I think. And, 2 million down, and I don't know how many to go. Hopefully hundreds of millions to go. We'll see. Step by step, right? But thank you everybody for listening. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. I'm shooting for tomorrow for the official preview and prediction show for Backlash. And then, of course, busy audio from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with all of the pay-per-view events, or the Backlash event going on, SmackDown going on. And it's going to be a busy next few days here. But for all for your enjoyment. So thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to wwepodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.